when you are both trusting the process over and over on the same maps. Villa could be a good example of that.
Villa could be an insane example of that. And I'm just wondering, was it BDS who banned it like 30 times in the 2020 season?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so. And Empire, they have played a bit more. They have a bit more wins in it as well, so they should possibly feel more confident on this map. But hey, we'll just have to wait and see whether or not this was a mistake in the banning phase of BDS, or if they are feeling adventurous and decided to finally, after a year of not playing the map actively, bring it into their active map pool.
Yeah, it's a good old flirt with danger, and no flirtation with hard destruction. Severely limited instantly takes out the frags of Mav, but obviously you still have a huge battle that goes on for the hard walls, and to be fair, these teams have both dabbled and danced around the verticality possibility of it too. You get in underneath if they're playing AVG, find yourself around their books in the library, or pushing and controlling around Art Studio and Piano, and you can start to shepherd people away from the study wall if that's the take you want. Same explanation, same style of push against the hard wall between the split site and Drave Stetchery and obviously the bedroom too. You try and lock in some control around kitchen, so it's not the biggest be all and end all, but what it does do on a very big map is force more time into the attackers.
It does indeed, and as we are heading into that first round, it will be Empire to be, well, approaching that attack first, and it looks like Aviator Games is going to be the play. Now, bear in mind, don't write it down yet, they might always change it. Not this time, right? So you're safe this time.
I'm living dangerously.
You're living dangerously.
And it's
on
also,
the edge.
you know, it's a statement about, as I said, these two teams, they love to play their game and say, try and beat us. They love just... No, and, you know, as I said, it's the difference between a lot of teams is some of them will always continually try and adapt and change things on the fly. Like, they'll pull off sites and say, well, let's do this pocket strat and stuff like that. And these 10 players... they're so solid when they need to be, and they love just kind of saying, look, this is what we've built. This is our house, this is our castle. Okay, now try and take it. And I think that's the thing. It's always great to see them butt heads, because it is those two kind of like juggernauts just going at each other.
Quickly writing everything down as we speak. Don't see anything too crazy yet, except for maybe Rafal, who decided to go for a roam. All the way in the basement, all the way on the other side of the map, hoping to maybe pick up some drones there. As, well, I talked about it on the analyst segment that we had in the green room. Consulate, for example, you see a lot of the drones coming in. People repelled up on the windows and getting the wall bangs down. Especially during the current form of the meta, it is very important to make sure those drones are removed from the board as early as possible. It might be what Rafal is trying to do, and maybe pick up a kill in the process as well.
Wide push here as they try and clear and get clarity over the opposite side of the floor. Joystick going deep and underneath to see if he can find anyone loose playing around, but it's the fight just round to his left here on the red stairs that might be the start of the confrontation to go. Rafal is called. They think he's up, but he's droned out down, and away he goes. Joystick is just going to apply some further pressure upstairs, though. The pings were there. They were well aware that they were playing underneath, and now they have an idea of, okay, well, somebody's in wine. Wine is huge. Wine is such an encompassing floor that for a lot of teams to send themselves down there and risk the 2 versus 1, it's not worth it. So they'll instead try and continue their setup and leave something like this. So always has the hatch in their rotation. They're going to listen out on the red stairs, and they're still going to try and apply the pressure towards 90 and classical, as they should.
Now, this might be a way that BDS tries to force a Nomad to come into play in one of these continuing rounds, because as long as Rafal is down here, there's 3 exit points he could potentially go for, as now a very heavy hunt is underway. Joystick trying to go for the kill, but it is going to be Rafal to pick up 1 at least to start things off with. Knows that there might be a second one hunting, and it is indeed always who's going to be peeking in with the SMG. He's going to be able to get that kill, actually, the L85. Brings it back to a 4-on-4, but he's still losing Joystick quite early on in the game.
Yeah, you lose Joystick, you lose your entry, you lose your Ash, and, well, you lose more time. Just over a minute left on the board, and they're starting to apply some pressure to the site itself, with Scyther trying to get control of 90 window. You can see the sledge is still underneath 2, I believe, potentially going for a bigger rotate or trying to catch somebody with a cheeky frag grenade. Still has both in pocket, and as I said, it's a lot of verticality. It's Shaiko, though, that finds Dan in the meantime, takes care of the Decabi on the approach, and that's going to make things a little bit more comfortable for them. That big, heavy-hitting DMR is a big, big problem on these long angles down, long and down across the strategy table.
Nate coming in right there, but not really doing anything. Maybe take out a little bit of the utility there. Could only think of a Mew Gemmer to be taken out. And well, so far, Shaiko still in a power position near that gun vault. Has the opportunity to just peek whatever he wants. You can maybe compare it a little bit to the pillar in Oregon, as a second grenade will come in, but also will not find anybody. With 20 seconds left, they need to push now.
Now then, they've been able to push the body outside of Gunvault, swings around on the close to try and get control of the electronics, can't quite find their way in 15 seconds, and as I said, long is terrifying when you have to try and just careen your way up there. There's still canisters popping, and Shaiko too finds one more and swings onto another, but Renshiro gets the one on the opposite side, and BDS get their first round.
Very well played right here. Just wasting as much time as possible, right? Like, they open up the vault and they were like, all right, this is an option, but Brede on top of the pool table, holding off an angle. Shaiko able to peek the door at any given moment to just spray you down. They didn't really feel safe there on the likes of Empire, and they forced themselves to move to different positions. And with that, they ran out of time. And with that, BDS able to pick up a very convincing first round.
Still with the Mozzie on the board, though in slightly different hands now, as they actually play with the idea of the electronics on the wall decide to double down, and instead the Lion over the Decabi. And I think that's a clever play because they went for the 2 versus 1 catch. They were using those calls pretty consistently to find that roamer. They've seen a Mozzie and they're assuming the worst again. So they're going to go with something a little bit more brutal, something that will really limit the movement that a player can put onto those swings and positioning. Sure, you can get brave and put bodies down even in amongst the vibrations that occur, but at the same time, it's a little bit more uncomfortable for that roam player and for that person off-site.
All right, so trophy stat we are going up to. Just looking ace again as the hard breach. Rarely see the thermite being brought here due to the fact that every single wall is soft, so it's really easy to try and deny those extra thermics, whereas it's a little bit less easy for the other hard breach gadgets. It does often require, however, the team on the attack to have a form of bottom floor control if you want to go for that breach, because otherwise it could be shot or, well, exploded out underneath it. Thus, you will probably see that happen as Renshiro is still struggling, trying to decide where to put his last shield.
The Goyo does play pretty consistently for a lot of teams here on this side. It allows you to swing wide on certain angles. Sometimes you'll see that one a little bit further around and alongside the chassis of the bomb itself, but it depends the aggression that gets laid against it. Alems drowned out pretty quickly and is going to try and make an escape alongside the corridor and head to the bottom of red, but you can see that there's pinches coming from either side. Dan is playing on the China window, and at the same time Joystick, I believe, is making his way up from Art. So it's a multifaceted push here, all coming down on a Mozzie. They're making sure that they waste even less time, and to be fair, they have that in their favor because instead of them being 2 floors below, they are directly where they need to be, and this is going to play into Empire's game. There is one more French body, though, holding the corner. Goyo is the man that's watching the hop-in on the mudroom. Renshiro, he pulls back, stays stoic, and doubles down as the first E1D rumbles out.
Oh, needs to be careful here. Joystick is coming in from the back right here. He's going to be able to pick up the first kill. That's Renshiro down. And right now, Kitchen seems to be under control. But they do still have to go to that top floor. They do still have to go to the master bedroom. So that is something that they need to work on next. To make sure that they can set themselves up for a proper take. And while there is still 4 members of BDS live, actually LM still down below. Grenades are coming in right here. Is he going to be able to escape alive? Is he going to be able to pick up a kill just to, well, bring it back to even? Yes, he will. That's a pistol kill coming into Always, bringing it to a 4-on-4 situation. And it seems like he is being given some rest right now as more utilities being tossed towards him. But as long as he stays alive, he's going to be a threat. And that means they need to deal with him, and so they did.
Pre-fire from Scyther as he comes around the corner, and now it's Rafal that actually finds Joystick, paddles down and head down the stairs of Astro to try and put one of them into space, but back up to safety with an even body count, and that's a big moment of lapse of concentration that may cost Empire. They are still re-evaluating and reapplying the pressure onto the second story now as they start their approach via walk-in and the bedroom. Big walls being cracked open, but the electronics are still there, which means they're going to have to swing on two very narrow doors. 30 seconds is all they have left, with Dan trying to take care of those bandit charges underneath, but Rafal is there. He's playing, he's tricking, he's doing the brave game. It's a very, very smoky bathroom, and there's going to be worse with even one more still in the pocket. They're doing everything to get rid of that shield now as Brede holds down behind a pretty destroyed table. The one on Astro stairs. Dan is able to try and swing, get the kill, don't get the cover. There it is, two bodies for BDS either side, and now it's Shepard stuck between two players, hits the shield, not the man, but you're all out of time.
Same story here, Fluke. Again, it is BDS stalling out the game and forcing Empire into, well, a bit of a discomfort situation. They were able to pick up the second round in a row right now, where Empire was just basically running out of time. I know we've mentioned this. The 20-second meta would be gone. The patches and everything are focused on making sure that the utility clearing goes easier. But what do you do when the utility clearing goes easier? You just put people down below. You put roamers that need to be cleared, and Empire is struggling with that hard right now.
Rafal and Shaiko, the two bodies kind of locked in, usually on opposite sides, with Rafal taking a little bit more of a, shall we say, reserved game compared to Shaiko, who's trying to reserve every single square inch of floor space possible. This time, though, obviously it opened with Rafal on the roam, and this time Empire are not hiding that lion. They are... It's tough to always gauge the stuff after 2 rounds. They brought the lion as a response to the deep roam, and the deep roam wasn't so deep. It was more of a, well, we're holding kitchen, and we're going to try and hold it until we die, because there's not really a way out. If they read that quickly, they'll have a body watching the rotate down the pantry stairs. Maybe one on the window too if you try and go for the hatch. It depends how covered you think they are, but you're never really sure. So it's a dangerous little box to swing round. Then obviously the corridors down beneath are all watched from either the mudroom window or the push onto piano. It's tough to get out of that space. They're still able to dig in and find a kill, and in that case find 2. They're happy to respond and retaliate with aggression against Empire, who are just struggling to keep a handle onto the French side so far.
And I think it's just purely due to the fact that BDS is realizing, all right, Empire, they know how to win their gunfights. So let's just make sure that we do not give them the opportunity to make that happen on the side. Let's make sure they don't have time to clear out the complete side by putting out these roamers, right? They need to be hunted down, and you make sure that they're mobile. You make sure that they keep on moving. Make sure that there's no information present, and you bring the lion again here on the side of Empire just to try and help with that. So Empire is trying to adapt to the one thing that's been going wrong for them, which is clearing out these roamers. And the lion would be helpful, but they do need to get that information, and they do need to get in position to go for these pushes onto Alems and Rinchiro on the top floor.
Rinchiro might be the first to suffer pressure as the Selmas hit the wall by his side, but stay standing for now. I believe there's a jammer still in progress, and, well, there's Scyther taken out of the equation anyways. Zafir from underneath. Dan gets dropped to top of red, and things are starting to fall apart on the initial clear. There's Joystick finding some success, but dropped in the process. Shepard tries to get the pickup, and always is there reliable against Alems, bringing themselves back yet again into an even body balance. A C4 calls from beneath, but it's the pressure coming from bathroom. Shaiko has responded with aggression, finds Joystick with an amazing flick onto the split entrance there, and at this point, yet again, they have this body advantage, and this is all continually happening off-site. The bed keeps you safe, a well-made mattress gets you 2 things: a nice night's sleep and protection from high-impact explosives.
Should have been aware right there. Rafal should have known that was a mattress that wouldn't be vulnerable to the explosives to come through, but so be it. There's going to be 1 minute left, and it is a 2v3 situation here in favor of BDS and Empire. They need to get the control, so they start to open up the top floor. They want to get these angles out because they have to. They're currently trailing, and yes, of course, Villa is a defense side of map, but they're currently being played with. They're being toyed with by BDS by just not giving them a single chance of actually coming coming up to the execute eventually. And this round will go the exact same time. There is no time and there is no manpower to clear out all the utility on site. They need to rely on their gun skill to try and win out this battle in these last 20 seconds.
I think it's one of the things that we've seen so far from Empire is when they do have a taste of the site, they move quickly. We saw it on the first round, but here they keep being just nipped at and attacked and aggressed by BDS before they get the approach. Peppering bullets round the corner, deep into the back of the kitchen with a pinch potentially coming from the opposite side. Always sees the side of somebody, but needs a little bit more than that, and now needs even more. Brede drops Shepard and the diffuser, and another round into the BDS camp.
BDS, BDS, and BDS. So you want to know what the what came across in all these 3 rounds that we've seen so far?
What came across, Hap?
A lack of time and a struggle clearing out the roam. And thus we get a tactical timeout by Empire. Straight away, they realize something is going wrong. They need to talk. They need to figure out what's going wrong. And there's 2 ways at this, right? Like, either you are going to be focusing more on killing these roamers and put more pressure and more utility down in doing so, because they lose too many people every single round to roamers. First round it was 2, I believe. The second round it was 2. This round it was 3 people eventually to drop. And you're not going to be able to, with 1 minute on the clock and 2 people, to completely clear the side and clear all the utility, right? So there's either the fact that you are going to be focusing more on the roamers, trying to take them out quicker, or you are going to hit the site directly in a kind of a rush strategy. And that might be something that we will be seeing here for Empire.
I think that's the thing about the Empire play as well, is in that first AVG round where the fight was quite aggressive and they went and hunted, they're being really proactive. And you have to be on Villa. You cannot let time slip away. You cannot really, truly, if you need to achieve something and the way you want to achieve it isn't a leave it and lie, isn't, as you said, and could have been a great possibility, the Nomad or the air jabs to lock down staircases, maybe even a gridlock at times can be used quite well if you position those on those rotations, and then you can focus everything onto the site. Instead, Empire, they're looking for these gunfights, they're looking for these confrontations, but because they're having to do it quite quickly, even though they're doing it instantaneously, even though they're going, okay, we need to do this, and we need to get this done, and we need to get this done, on Villa, it leaves you with such a limited amount of time against this BDS playstyle, because BDS is just going, let's make everything uncomfortable. Let's not just make the site take hard. We can trust the 2 bodies, maybe 3 left on site. Let's cause some problems all over the shop. And it's really kind of blinkering Empire to feel like they have to clear every hurdle.
So that's the thing, right? At some point you have to start choosing what hurdles you will skip. You cannot clear everything. You cannot take control of everything. You have to make sacrifices. And right now they're taking too many 50-50s, I would say, and they're not really falling into their hand. And this one definitely did a beautiful kill. And there you have it. This is the Risha was talking about. They're not going to be going for clearing roamers. They're trying to take quick control up into the main stairs. Unfortunately, though, Brede is still there, and there's also a Goyo shield. And it is going to be going the wrong ways. 2 men falling in the hands of Empire.
Joystick drops Scythe, and as I said, it was the right idea, but it was picked apart very quickly, unfortunately for the Russians, as now they find themselves stuck on the main staircase, trying to find the body on the top. They do. Joystick drops Alems, looks for the second, might not know about the Echo, but they definitely know about Brede, and they remove him in a different way. Shaiko and Rafal, all that's left, swinging on every possible door here, and this is the continued aggression we talked about. BDS are trying to make sure Empire are uncomfortable, but for the first time in a while, they have the man balance. They have that one body up, and they're using it well to keep applying the pressure. They're going to make sure that they don't find themselves one more lacking. The rotate comes around the backcourt by Shaiko, who has to play back towards the site, but it's a very tricky angle, and Dan is the first to find something, but it's Shaiko and Rafal that flip it both back on the other way. There's one drop inside. It's down to this, and there it is. Shepard brings the clutch for Empire's first.
I was going to say, no way are they going to be allowed to turn this around, because it almost went into BDS's way straight again, as it was Shaiko and Ranchiro both able to pick up 1 kill right there. Fortunately, though, they still have 1 trusty man left. 1 trusty man With the AK-12 able to take down those final 2 kills and able to bring at least 1 round on the board here for Empire, and one that might be very important because, mind you, we saw BDS do quite well against Vitality and have fun, but then we saw Vitality bounce back. So, because even if they have a flying start right now, it doesn't mean that the round is over. It doesn't mean the game is over, because it's a very defense-sided map we're on right now.
Similar loadout as to before from BDS. They're going to solidify this hold and see if they can make it work. The one major change there is that bottom player. Rafal is picking up Melusi instead of Echo, something that's a little bit more immediate for the limitations on their approach. They're not going for the super wide Mozzie roam as they did in the very first time, and I think that's a fair decision because we saw Empire react to that by picking up the line and react to that with some aggression here, so they know that the response is coming through this way, but at the same time, the Melusi, I think, is a very good pickup there instead of the Echo. They're expecting quick fire Russians. They're expecting a lot of pace, and this can really stem that final approach. Throughout the entire game, Empire have been constantly moving, so why not try and slow them down?
I like how I'll call it, like, they maybe need to rush and skip the hurdles, and what we see is everybody just instantly rushing up the main stairs, like, you know, it's almost like you cannot win from BDS if you're taking them to their battleground. You need to make your own battleground, and that's exactly what they did. They were the ones to decide where the battle would take place, and they were the ones that were able to get the upper hand of it. Yes, of course, the Ghost Shield blew up, and you basically lost 2 members due to it, but you managed to bring it back in the end, and that's the most important part.
Well, they realize it's not going to work again, so they're going for a much wider clear here across the top floor, and they're making sure they get themselves set up early to see if they can catch any potential roam. Joystick instantly pushes his way through the opening and tries to find the firefight on 90. Alems is the one that taps the angle and heads back behind the shield because Joystick, as I said, is not slowing down for nobody. They know where they need to be and they know why they want to be there, and I think that's the best thing about every single Empire round so far is, well, that even though they're on a 3-1, they have always been confident. They've always been applying pressure, and they know that they need to. And look at this drone dance game that Shaiko is having to battle onto the doorway.
Really love to see the momentum change that always comes in after a tactical timeout like this. Empire is suddenly playing with a lot more confidence right here and playing with a lot more idea of what they want, but there's also still a Shaiko on the board, one that plays in these power positions, has all the angles open up for him so he can get these shots off that he just managed to make happen, and he was the one that brought it back to a 4-on-4 with 1 minute left on the clock, while Empire this time around have a lot of time to try and clear out the utility. Oh, I thought Renshiro was creeping up on one there, but that was my mistake.
Shaiko suffers on the swing on the door, and Scyther tries to step in to finish the fight, but it's Bride that suffers next. Renshiro, though, he was creeping up on somebody, but it was from underneath, and it's Joystick gone with a C4, looped through the opening hatch, and that's a bit of a miss moment, but at the same time, 45 seconds, and they know a body's downstairs. They're on a little bit of a disadvantage here. The smoke canisters come through, and Shaiko pre-fires the door to make sure that they can just not get that immediate entry, but they're well aware of the play and the pressure. They want to try and dig in behind the vault door, but look at Renshiro still underneath. They have the opening, they have the possibility, they almost have Shaiko, but they can't quite get the angle. They pull back, don't get the plant in, and there's always who finds Rafal on the cover. 3 versus 3. 2 now as Shaiko swings on the opposite side and gets a drop via study. There, finally, he's out of the Russians' hair, and it's a 2 versus 2 with 1 beneath. They want to put the pressure onto the body on the site, and they do. Shepard yet again leading the charge. Renshiro can't see the plant. He's in an off position, has to try and pre-fire an angle, but they stick it and drop it, and now it's a long route back up the stairs for Renshiro.
First plant of the game coming down so far, and well, it's Empire setting themselves up well for the post plants, creating the extra angles. They might need to get an eye out on that diffuser, making sure no long arms are going to be possible here, and it's up to Renshiro to try and go for the retake. Manages to enter from the strategy table inside of AVGs, is going to be pushing into the gun vault right now, but we'll be walking right into the gunshots of Scyther right there, and Shepard watching from the back on the upside down rappel will be finishing him off, covering his comrade and making sure that the second round in a row will be going up to Empire. Right after that tactical timeout they had, just to make sure that everything would go their way again, the momentum changes, the momentum swaps, and that's exactly the power of those timeouts.
Yeah, you have to give it to whatever speech happened during that pause for Empire, because they have come back gunning. And as I said, it wasn't that they were slow before the turn of the half, but they were a little bit waylaid by what BDS was playing. They were a little bit distracted. And I think now they've kind of realized, look, we can just put pressure to them. We're Team Empire. This is what we do. And now they've been able to do it twice in a row. Sure, you're up against BDS. It's still not an easy feat either. But from what was a perfect 3 start to now 2 in a row on a very tough site shows growth and progress. The right decision to change the site here and try and shake things up before you head over to your attacks and try and find something that puts you on that 4-2. Because otherwise a 3-3 split with Empire with this much momentum, that's a very tough wall to climb.
It is a very tough wall or mountain almost to climb, as you don't want to go into a second half of Villa where you are going to be the team on the attack with 3 rounds on the board. You want to have 4, you want to have 5 rather, but it's none of that right now. It is Empire that is climbing back. It's Empire that is showing the momentum right now, and BDS who need to try and interrupt that. Shaiko able to pick up a couple of crit kills in that last round, but wasn't able to completely stop what was going on right there. And now it's up to them. It's up to BDS to try and stop their momentum, to at least get that 4th round on the board, to bring it up to an even half, as we would call it, to give themselves a better opportunity of actually winning it on their attack.
Well, Joystick, man about town, and the town he's chosen is the opposite side. We've seen him droned in before and behind the body of the Gemini. It's the possibility of him having success on the entry and having that immediate application of pressure is, to be honest, the pace that is being set. It's in his wake the game is moving, so let's see how quickly they can find Vigil. Alems picking up a slightly different operator for that play beneath, something that can play against the drone game in a different way to the Mozzie that was there before. Mozzie had a good start, but it's the showing that BDS need is something slightly better because Empire have otherwise stepped up and into this.
2 minutes on that clock. Empire have been speeding up their game so far, and they decided right now, okay, let's not care about those roamers anymore. However, you have to be careful, because there is going to be some vertical play that could be coming into play. You have Renshiro with a C4. Rafal is still busy with making sure that there will be no tricks. And well, if you want to open up that wall, you need to take bottom floor control. And if you do that, you need to go through the roamers. But it's Shaiko to go down. That is a very important kill right here, confirmed by the grenade. Potentially, no, manages to just escape, as Joystick cannot confirm him either. However, who is close enough to try and secure him right there as the next grenade is coming in, but will not be landing onto Renshiro yet. And so everybody will stay alive for now.
Well, only just there they find Joystick and stop him getting the kill on Shaiko. Alems with a double goes deep underneath and drops Dan too. A big cost and a big loss is something that seemed to slip away from the hands of BDS. They realized they needed to back down onto site, and Shaiko is back to his feet. Goyo and Shiro survived somehow and was able to get back down underneath and get away from the corner of Astro that seemed a definite doomed end. Brede is still holding the angle with the canisters in pocket, and with a minute over, what seemed like another Empire run out and rollover of the pressure on the site itself suddenly slipped away because the work of Alems on that flank, on that pinch back towards the site itself. Scyther found shooting down towards Astro stairs. Can't quite give Goyo the haircut he needs to stay as stylish as he does with the single line on the side. There's more bullets flying by, but they don't quite catch him. This game is continual, and it finally ends. Pushes deep against the smoke, but Shaiko finds one more for his tally, and one more. Why not? 4 versus 1 versus nobody. BDS 4-2.
BDS finally able to swap the momentum, and after it looked like a really good start from Empire, taking down Shaiko in the very early round, he managed to survive. He managed to just dodge the grenade. He managed to just dodge the gunshots. Man, English is hard today. Of Joystick that came up from 90's side. It suddenly turned around. Alems with a double kill, as you said, able to flip the table. And with that, BDS able to put 4-2 on that board, making sure they keep the lead, they keep the momentum for now. The question, however, is, will their attacks be stronger than those 2 defensive rounds we saw, well, them being overrun by Empire?
Now, you think of, obviously, Shaiko on the top of the board at a 10-2, and how he was almost taken out this round very early. It looked like Joystick had actually secured the kill for a second. I swear I saw some blood splatter spraying from the man as he crawled across the floor, but hey, maybe I'm just imagining things. And at At this point, you think, well, he went on to get around 2 more kills on that. The start of the collapse was the rotation up red stairs there from Alems to take care of Joystick and then swing onto the second body. Little moments like that, I think, won't dampen the Empire spirits too much. 4-2 to find ourselves in the turn of the half, to be honest, is better than some of us expected on that 3-0 start, because they seemed a bit lost, if energetic. Now, they're on their defense. They are setting their pace, their game, their way. BDS will still have to keep stepping up for my money if they want to try and match this. But hey, as I said at the start of this spiel, Shaiko 10-2.
He's really a star player right now, and we know him to do well, for example, in that pillar in Oregon. I'm going to keep on bringing it up. It's really a power position that he plays in well. You also saw him picking up a lot of kills in the gun vault because, you know, they open up these long angles all the way to the balcony, which basically makes it impossible to enter study. And as he just frags out in those kind of positions, then it is up to Empire to try and work around it, and so they did. They went for a rush up the main stairs. You don't meet Shaiko there. They went for a different kind of approach for the trophy side. They also managed to play around him at that point. But now he is going to be on the attack. He is going to be spearhead of BDS, making sure that the sides will be opened up. And, well, no longer really playing on that Hibana, which always was key to him, as he is now moved. Is it promoted or demoted? I don't know. But to the Ash, an operator that many would consider as a true entry fraggler in this game.
I think the only people that would consider it a promotion to Ash are Ash mains. So Stokes is there like there's no higher honor to be put onto the Ash. As a Hibana main and a sport player, I don't know. I think Hibana, you know. But either way, Shaiko thinks, well, I want to put pressure onto strategy. And that is what he's doing, almost instantly replicating what Empire were playing before, making sure that they keep the pace of this game hot and spicy as it needs to be. They haven't found a body yet, but Empire aren't playing with such an aggressively spread out situation as BDS were. The bodies in blue are steadily making their way across from red and potentially going to try and back up Rafal on this corner here with one swinging onto 90. Shaiko has dropped down and gone underneath. Wants to apply a pinch push on the opposite staircase to see if he can put some pressure to the second story. In the meantime, though, Dan has been able to take a Lems. If he gets caught by a rotation from Shaiko here underneath potentially, or if there's some bit of confidence that swings him all the way around, that could be the blow. But otherwise, steadily, the French team are kind of trying to apply their pressure here on 90.
That's exactly what Renchiro is doing. They're one man down and need to put some pressure onto that board, and there's still a shield they need to deal with. However, how much utility denial do they still have? They have no more breaching rounds left. They have one impact on Renchiro, I believe, but it's going to be used elsewhere, actually, maybe? Not quite sure. It seems like it got eaten as Shepard, actually, taking a bit of a burst of damage right there. Not quite sure if that was from Renchiro. At least a bit of damage is done. But 30 seconds right now, and BDS find themselves in the exact same position as Empire is. They basically cleared out nothing on the sides, but they are in the position where they have to go for the execute.
Yeah, they're waiting for another canister to roll through, but look at Joystick just holding it down. The Elder goes burr, but only catches one as Dan is there to pick up the pieces there on the trade. Only 2 players left, and still 3, but now it's just 2 as Renchiro gets one, gets picked off by Always. Dan is close on the study door, ready to swing round at a moment's notice, waits for the counter to get lower, and there it is. Opened the round and closed it from the same place. Empire put themselves a round up.
And this is the dangerous thing. You need to have study control because you just don't want one of these players to have the freedom and the ability to roam through there, to use that door to shut you down, because a lot of the attacks are coming down from the landing side of the map. A lot of the attacks are pushing through that exact same door, and then you either plant right behind the strategy table or behind the gun vault door. Now, if you have someone available in study who's able to open the round and close it as you just said, that means that he's been playing in a very powerful position without being challenged for literally the entire round and able to pick up so many kills right there. So if they are going back to AVG at some point, you know, after the next 2 rounds, we might see BDS go for a little bit of an adaptation there, making sure that it's a bit less playable. Maybe someone who's playing on that balcony, you know, putting some pressure down, at least keeping the attention there.
I think that's one of the things as well, as I called it, Shaiko instantly led him with the pressure and then rotated underneath. And it looked like he was steaming towards the opposite staircase, but in the moment of that play, Dan dropped, I believe, a Lems. And then at this point, you see Shaiko stop and go for an alternate play. I think you still want to apply that pressure. I think you still want to cause some problems there, because for him to be the driving force to get them all the way up to Red Door and then go for a second movement and a second bit of momentum, potentially lose out on it, sure, but then you had him adrift underneath for a good 20 seconds of where does this person go now? Where do we play our aggressor? They brought him back up to red door to try and swing around, and it didn't quite work out. But, you know, it's that time, that limitation, and that allowed Dan to hold Stoddy so aggressively and so uncontested. Talking of Lems, instantly goes fishing for people on the window.
Gonna check, because Lems has been in opening duels quite often. Like, he got opening killed last time around. 1, 2, 3... four times in the opening engagement in these 7 rounds. Won it twice, lost it twice himself. So far, Alam's well, not having the best of entries so far. And if it's not really his job on that buck, he's supposed to make sure that the floor opens up. It's more to a Shaiko or a Rafal to put up those opening engagements. With 2 minutes left on the clock. Surely soon one will be coming in close to us. The Shaiko's droning himself in, checking aviator games and the gun vault, making sure everything is safe before he starts moving up. There's still a Rooney laser gates. There's still Scyther that is playing right below. No one will actually notice him there, so we might see a cheeky C4 coming in late round as soon as they want to go for the execute and the actual diffuser plant.
We saw quite a long time to first kill on the previous round, and it seems the same. Empire aren't leaning into BDS the same way that the BDS defense was responding to Empire, but it doesn't mean they're not being active. Shaiko here instantly trying to apply the pressure from landing, concerned about the rotation underneath, as he well should be, because there's always the possibility of someone coming back round. The Gemini takes care of the Aruni gate in the very heavy utility job that she has now, but look at this. Shaiko is just trying to find a door to apply some pressure on, trying to put Empire into an uncomfortable position to make a mistake. Renshiro is now able to double up and looks towards the close swing there. There's a bulletproof that gives them an eye and an idea, but there's nobody around the back of the statue, so it's just again this dance of trying to find the first pick.
Gotta say, there's Shaiko also able, after the Gemini, to take out one of those, well, new Gemmers, it looks like. So they had the opportunity of potentially going for the breaches. Shaiko right now has to put some pressure down. 45 seconds on that clock. They're trying to take care of the Banshee whilst the Aruni laser gates get reactivated. So they need to make sure that they deal with that. Shaiko now enters right here, tries to go into the statuary room, but it's not going to be able to get any kills so far. It's actually Bride and Alams and Renshiro all coming in with kills right here. And it's all up to Shepard suddenly, all alone right now. Needs to make sure that he tries to make this stick, but it's a flawless round from BDS as they just snap their fingers and 4 members of the Empire team are gone. Something totally unexpected for me.
Well, that one round the Empire were able to pull back, BDS have instantly kept themselves a pace ahead. The flood of kills was all French as they found themselves locked in. The Claymore obviously caught the Roman rotation, but the bodies dropped on the attempted swing there from the bathroom to the master bedroom. Well, it was just that flank watch. It was a little bit angsty and a little bit antsy. Empire believed the push was going to come round on the swing from a Lems on the buck on the door, and to be fair, sure, but at the same time, they seemed to lost heed and lost the idea of where the rest of the bodies of BDS were, leaving them suddenly adrift with only one player over the space of about 3 seconds. Yeah, it's not easy for anybody, but one of their attacks needed now. BDS, it was pretty well put together and they were allowed it a lot of control. As I said, it was a late to the fire kind of firefight. They really got late into the round before a body was dropped.
Yeah, it was so chaotic as well. I just totally missed who was the actual entry, entry kill and death.
A Lem swing the door as Buck towards, I think it was Always.
I'm just gonna write it down.
Okay.
Always, you now have an entry death due to
okay.
stating
Well, no,
you were one.
That's vague memory of trying to. This is why we have a clean feed. Scroll back through.
I'm not scrolling back on that now, but
right.
we'll do so later.
What I do like here is more of an exploration of the map from Empire. They obviously are playing a site that is a bit tougher to keep as that kind of locked-in turtle, so they have Dan on the Vigil, they have a fantastic Vigil player off on the opposite side of the map, trying to cause some trouble around the far opposite side, bring some attention. Shaiko is the first drone that might catch somebody. They're aware, obviously, that he'll be nearby as the drone gets dropped, and it's just more time wasted.
More time wasted indeed. Shaiko sending in another drone. Seems like they're ready to reply onto that drone. A bit of information being gathered now by Shepard on that pulse. Who is an operator very powerful on a map like Consulate, but also on Villa often played due to the fact that it's also 3 floors. It's also a lot of safety when you're playing in that bottom floor. And, well, if your side is kitchen, you want to have at least some control over that top floor. So using those C4s, which there are 3 of on the side of Empire, are definitely helpful if you have that pulse, because you're just, you can direct them easier.
Shaiko now has a drone a little bit closer into position and is obviously well aware of this player on the opposite side, but isn't truly sure just on where the body is. So is instead going to keep a solid angle and wait for more pressure to be applied by the rest of his team towards the site. See if they can bait Dan into making a mistake or taking a fight a bit too early and a bit too out of position than they need to be. Shepard, as you said, is still getting all that information and passing it on as Shaiko's actually found his way towards Piano. But again, look at the drone. He's still steadily working along that corridor, following the lines and vibrations that Dan is putting out and, keeping that very blurry look on where they might be. Alem suffers from Dan, though, who's able to cause some problems and just be that continual thorn in the side of the BDS approach.
Now, 1 minute are left on the clock, and we need to, start seeing the pressure coming down from BDS soon. The Gemini is being used to, scout out Pantry, scout out the bottom of Pantry. In the meantime, Shaiko will go down to Saiter, however, and that is going to be the entry frag. Saiter using a C4 right now to try and get an angle down onto, I believe that is Renshiro, but Renshiro has entered the site already, and he's trying to make some kills happen. He's trying to open up that side, make sure they could go for a plant. Somehow catches up the mute right there, who was unaware of his position. C4 gets sniped out, but Iana, as Day will go for the plant right now. Soon, 45 seconds on the clock, and a retake position right here for Always and Shepard.
Well, that is so well played by BDS. They were able to dig in. Renshiro needed that fire to go, and he found it, and now they found themselves inside with a man advantage, and they make it even wider. Always is all that's left here. No C4 in pocket. He's able to put bullets towards a Bride buried back towards China, but it's Alems watching from far away who puts BDS on map point.
See the focus right here in the BDS members, their faces. Also a bit of happiness, of course.
It'd be weird if they were sad.
Stay hydrated. It would be weird, right? If you find yourselves on 6-3 right now.
If you're on map point.
And you're like, why? Why does it have to be over so quickly? That would be the only thing that I would imagine people being sad about. But still, 3 points are coming close to them. They already have 1 secured with our new system. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's no more draws. We have overtime wins and losses now, where an overtime win gives you 2, an overtime loss gives you 1.
Great system.
With that, no more lost points. So they can play for 3 right now, 1 more round, whilst Empire is looking to bring it to overtime to potentially find themselves with 2 points.
Wow, AVG, they're able to make success before, but for me, it came from a bit of lack of clarity from the guns of BDS. They lost somebody on the far side, didn't quite know where to put the rest of their push, and then from then on, push came to shove and they stumbled through a doorway and got killed. But there's still something to build upon. Here as well, Empire, similar story, to be fair. As we've talked about, they hit this game on their attacks with a lot of aggression and a lot of confidence. Their defenses, when they're supposed to be controlling the pace to a degree, they're struggling to keep a handle on BDS. BDS are happy to flood into the map. They're happy to take over so much kind of ground. Long swathes of attention is it being just, in a way, handed to them because they're not really nipping at the ankles the same way BDS were doing to Empire on BDS's defenses. This is a slightly different version of that as, Scyther goes for something bold, beautiful, brash, but no one's there, unfortunately.
Saw the prep run out. It was pretty choreographed as they opened up the window beforehand already, making sure you could go for a quick, smooth jump back in, making sure you do not lose any time trying to get back into the building. Potential time that they could use on the side of BDS to hunt you down. Right now, of course, the opportunity to completely reposition yourself as Shaiko already looking to try and sneak into the site to potentially get a couple of kills. It's Alems to hold off the rotation right there, catches off, the sight of Dan, but not quite the body yet as he rotates back towards the main stairs.
Wow, Dan is in a way, lucky to escape with no grazes or bruises. A moment life flashes before your eyes. They're well aware that he's playing around that area, but they're looking to see if they can try and solidify and shut it down. It's Shaiko, yet again, who's being pulled to this position to try and put pressure onto Dan before they potentially lose somebody else. You can see Alems is actually watching it from the opposite angle this time, making sure he doesn't suffer at the same time, as they're still, again, concerned about the ways that they were caught out before. It's still a slow approach, it's fair to say. They're making sure that they have the rest of the map before they go for their collapse, and they're a team that's happy to do that final 20-second push.
Yeah, and they seem to be very good at it as well, and I think that has to do with the pure class that BDS has. You know, they are often considered the best in Europe at this very moment, and while they're happy to show that, especially during this game, where they show some great adaptability, actually. But I want to see a bit more of that, because I said last round in AVGs they had no steady control, and steady seemed to be the problem right here. Saita gets the entry into Renshiro, but he doesn't have to drop down his Hedge Claymore. There we have it, instant refrag coming out, very well played.
Yeah, but Shepard is able to find Shaiko in the meantime, which at least keeps them 1 foot ahead. Again, that's some of the aggressive response I've wanted to see from Empire, leading in to BDS's approach, pulling things out over the cards as they try and rattle it up to the site to actually deploy the goods and services. Always is the one stuck in on the close quarters angle, hits the Gemini with the shotgun, but you know somebody's going to be there anyway, so it doesn't really stem and flow. I like the pre-prep C4, and well, it likes being away from that frag grenade. Doesn't get caught, but Dan does. Alems finds revenge on the opposite side and gives BDS some split control on the opposite side of the site. Rafal goes for a big rotate as Bride digs in behind the strategy table and gets underneath the smoke canisters, finds the plant in and amongst the chaos, sticks it, but suffers at the end of it, and there is Shepard on the swing, all down to Rafal to be able to lock it off this time round. No frags, so it's going to come down to just reacting. You can see the 2 red bodies, making sure they have the possibility of finding the fight in 2 different locations. The first comes from the study door, potentially, as they know they need to take this perfectly. Dips ahead round the corner. Rafal doesn't need to take it, but they decide they do. Empire swings into it always, suffers it to 1 versus 1. Can they hear the plant going off? They can. Shepard, 14 seconds, the risk of a lifetime, and it's with a shotgun close quarters. It's Rafal, though. BDS finds success.
1v2 post-plant clutch coming in right there. Beautifully played. As you see, Alems just speaking up to the camera right there. It's BDS that somehow, after, we saw a bit of a surge back from Empire after the tactical timeout. They were able to regain that momentum. They were able to regain their composure, and they were shutting down Empire ever since. And after you see, like, okay, 1v2 post one, that is doable. They didn't work together quite enough yet there on the side of Empire, and BDS able to clean it up. BDS able to get their second win on the board and show why they are, well, at least top